The storm howled across the white plains of Ariath like a living beast. Frozen wind slashed through broken tree limbs and whipped snow into walls that swallowed light and sound alike. Beneath that merciless sky stumbled a frail figure, blue-skinned, trembling, clutching two tiny bundles to her chest. Lyra could barely see, her vision blurred from exhaustion and blood loss. The pale suns of her world had long set, and only the twin moons illuminated the endless ice. Each step sent pain slicing up her legs. Her feet were bare. Her captors hadn't given her shoes when they cast her out. Her daughters whimpered weakly. The sound tore through her heart worse than the cold. She pressed them tighter, wrapping them in the tattered remains of her cloak. "Hush, my stars," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Don't cry. Mother's here. We'll find warmth. We must." But deep down, she didn't believe it. The humans had called her species Kareth, though her people had no name for themselves anymore. Their world had been mined, their villages scattered, their young sold to labor camps. Lyra had been one of the lucky ones, sold as a domestic servant to a mining overseer. When he discovered she was pregnant, he'd accused her of impurity and cast her out into the storm the night she gave birth. Her children hadn't even opened their eyes before she was thrown into the snow. The wind roared again, cruel and hungry. Lyra stumbled, fell to her knees. Her arms trembled violently. One of the babies whimpered louder. Too weak to even cry properly. Lyra looked up at the sky. "Please," she whispered to the void. "If there is any mercy in this universe, don't let them die." Then everything went black. Miles away, a human trudged through the same storm. His name was Daniel Hayes, a former medic turned prospector who had stayed behind after the mining company abandoned the region. Most men left when the veins dried up, but Daniel liked solitude. It kept his memories quiet. He scanned the horizon through his snow visor, pulling his fur-lined hood tighter. His thermal beacon had detected faint movement, organic heat signatures. Maybe a stray animal, maybe scavengers. But when he drew closer, he saw something else. A shape curled against a drift. Small. Motionless. Daniel's gut twisted. He sprinted the last few meters, dropping to his knees. It was a woman, an alien woman. Her skin glowed faintly blue beneath the frost, and her breathing was shallow. Two tiny bundles were pressed against her chest. Oh, hell. He checked for pulse. Weak but there. The infants were alive too, though barely. Their skin was colder than ice. He didn't think, he just acted. He wrapped all three in his thermal blanket and triggered the emergency beacon on his wrist. Then he lifted the mother into his arms and started the long, brutal trek back to his cabin. Hours later, the storm still raged outside as Daniel laid the mother and her twins near his heating unit. The cabin smelled of metal, smoke, and medicine. He'd done what he could, wrapped them in his thickest blankets, warmed nutrient fluid, and rubbed their tiny fingers and toes to coax back circulation. The alien woman stirred, groaning softly. Daniel knelt beside her. Hey, easy. You're safe now." Her eyes fluttered open, luminescent and wide, like shards of ice reflecting starlight. She flinched when she saw him. "Human," she whispered, voice cracked and hoarse. "You'll finish it. Kill us." Daniel frowned. "Finish what? I pulled you out of the snow, for God's sake." Her gaze darted to the twins. "They'll die if you keep us. Please, at least save them." He sighed, shaking his head. "Lady, no one's dying tonight. Not on my watch." She blinked, confusion flickering behind fear. "Why?" "Because," he said simply, "I'm a medic. And because it's the right damn thing to do." Over the next few days, warmth and life slowly returned to the small cabin. Lyra's fever broke. The twins, whom she called Syrah and Loon, began to feed properly. Daniel sterilized bottles and mixed formula, feeding the infants while Lyra recovered. He was rough-spoken but gentle-handed, his big frame surprisingly careful with the delicate newborns. When he changed their wrappings or rocked them to sleep, Lyra watched silently, her eyes filled with something between gratitude and disbelief. "Why are you here?" she asked one evening, her voice steadier now. Daniel looked up from the fire. "Used to be with the mining outfit. Stayed behind when they left." "Why?" He shrugged. "People back on Earth talk too much. Out here, nobody does." She tilted her head. "And yet you saved a stranger in the snow." He gave a faint smirk. "Didn't plan to. Guess I'm bad at minding my own business." Lyra smiled faintly for the first time. As the days became weeks, the snow outside eased. Daniel built a makeshift crib from scrap wood. Lyra, though weak, began helping, mending clothes, cooking simple meals, humming soft lullabies in her own tongue. He'd find her by the fire some nights, whispering to her daughters. "You are my twin stars," she would murmur. "No darkness will take you." Daniel listened quietly from the corner, pretending to focus on his work. He'd lost his own wife years ago, before he ever came to this frozen world. Seeing Lyra cradle her children stirred memories he'd buried deep. One night, he said quietly, "You know you could stay. It's not much, but it's safe here." Lyra hesitated. "You're kind, they hate mine." "Maybe some do," he admitted. "But I'm not them." She met his eyes, searching for deceit, and found none. "Then I will stay," she whispered, "for them." But safety, like warmth, never lasted long on Ariath. One gray afternoon, the whine of engines echoed through the valley. Daniel looked out the window and cursed. A patrol skimmer, human, bearing the insignia of the mining overseer. Lyra froze. "They'll take me back," she whispered. "They'll take my daughters." "Like hell they will," Daniel growled, loading his plasma rifle. Outside, 3 men approached through the thinning snow. Their leader, a red-faced officer, shouted, "We're reclaiming property. Hand over the Kareth female and the half-breeds." Daniel stepped out onto the porch, rifle in hand. "You want them? You'll have to come through me." The officer sneered. "You're protecting vermin, Hayes. You'll hang for this." Daniel's voice turned low and cold. "Maybe, but not today." The first shot from the patrol seared across the porch railing. Daniel fired back, controlled, precise. The skimmer exploded in flame, sending the remaining men scrambling. When the smoke cleared, silence fell again over the snow. Inside, Lyra clutched her daughters, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Why?" she whispered when Daniel returned, bruised and bleeding. "You risked your life for me again. For us." He sat beside her, wiping the soot from his face. "Because no one should be left to die in the cold, Lyra. Not while I'm still breathing." Spring came late on Ariath, but it came. The snow melted into silver streams, and fragile green moss began to spread across the valley. Daniel repaired the old greenhouse, teaching Lyra to grow vegetables. The twins took their first steps beneath the pale suns, giggling as they chased light across the floor. One morning, as Daniel watched them play, Lyra stood beside him. "You've given us more than life," she said softly. "You gave us a home." He smiled faintly. "You did the hard part. I just had the heater." She laughed, the sound like wind chimes. "No. You had a heart." Her hand brushed his, tentative, questioning. He didn't pull away.